All right, and welcome back to episode 2 of The Dawn.
And the Q, where we play next to thickness.
Woo!
How's it going, Octo? Another week. Here we are.
Yeah, another week. Here we are.
Um, so quick notes before we get into the episode. So that's we're doing. I want to do little anti proverbs. So play
Yeah,
next to
that's what that
thickness.
was.
Yeah, just letting the less skilled players know you don't do that. Don't play next to thickness. Anyways, moving on. Um, you'll for those of you watching on YouTube, we have a new layout, and this is gonna keep improving over the weeks. I know there's stuff wrong, but it's getting better. So let's be kind, chill out a little bit.
And
And
we would
then
actually suggest watching this episode on YouTube because we're definitely going to break out the board on this episode.
yeah. We'll hop into that in a moment. But yes, for those of you audio listeners, um, we are now on Spotify as well. You can find us at Don and the Q. But like Octo said, we the intent of this podcast was to be able to use a board. So there are going to be some things that may not translate as well to audio. So much like Octo just said, we may be using the board a bit more this episode. So, what is the episode for, or the topic for today, Octo?
Actually, before we get into that, let's.
Well, never mind then.
I know. It is kind of a segue from something that we were talking about in the last episode, but I wanted to ask, what did you think of last night? So last night, for context, I played Raven. If you don't know who that is, his name is Chris Sagner. You might know him from Go Magic or more or less as a KGS legend, Frozen Soul. But I've known him. We've been acquaintances for a short period-ish time now, but that was the first time we'd ever played each other. So what did you think about that?
Well, it was alarming how so casual he was about dismantling you.
Yeah. So Raven is a very high Don. He's an extremely strong player. Um, and me being a lowly two Don, it was never really the intent to win. It's more about kind of pointing out what am I doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So in the review that he gave me, was there anything that was like sticking out, or was there anything that was like strange compared to say reviews I give you or reviews that Hero gives you?
Um,
Because he kind of has a different way of explaining things or asking questions.
he, yeah, the thing that stuck out to me the most was just how little he will care about groups of stones.
Mm,
And I think you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, but like
yeah.
essentially there was like a 3-4 approach, a 3-4 that was approached with a knight's move. It was kicked, stand up, and then like the opposing player made a base, and then he just like tanukis and was like, "Yeah, I don't care about these at all." And it was just like so weird because like, well, you got kicked, they made a base. Now, wouldn't you make a base? And we talked about that a little bit, but um, yeah, it was interesting hearing his thoughts on it. And I mean, what he said, applies in that situation, but really it's like all of Go. So it just trying to take what he's saying and think like, yeah, this really does apply to everything. And so what I kind of gained out of it was just seeing a player of his level like leave things so open and
Mm-hmm.
flexible. Um, and that's like one thing that I strive for is like, be open minded, be flexible. You don't want to tie yourself down to one thing. And I mean, yeah, there's even a higher level of just being more flexible, which I think is inherent to just getting better.
Right. He's so hyper aware of every possibility. It doesn't really matter. You want to play this way? Okay, I'll play over here. That's the core
Hmm.
of it. It doesn't matter how you want to play it. I'm going to go do something else, and it's still going to come out more or less even.
Yeah,
Um,
and
but
also like he had a game against Semenyun where Semenyun was being very aggressive and it was a very fighting heavy game, and Semenyun lost by like 60 points, and then your game was not as fighty, but you lost by I think it was like 26 points. I mean, I know you resigned, but like at the time of resignation, you were behind like
yeah,
26 points,
right.
and an interesting thing he was saying was like for his style. Um, he just gets points and then wins the game. Like he just gets as many points as he can and wins, which seems weird. But what he was saying is like, if it's going to be a peaceful game, I'm just going to make better moves than you that like are bigger moves over the course of time. And then against Semenu, it's like, well, if you're going to fight, I'm going to kill you, and then that's why he wins by 60 points. So like looking at the point differential, I mean, you could say, oh, it was like Semenu lost harder, you're better than him, but it's like the styles of the games are very different, so the results
Mhm.
of the losses are going to be different as well.
So what I wanted to get at was the experience of that review was humbling in such a weird way because um, he would just point things out and be like, "Why are you doing this? Like, what is compelling you to play over here? Don't you see that this is like small?"
Yeah.
And it was so weird to hear that because I'm usually the person giving that same statement instead of receiving it.
Dude, I
Um,
was laughing because like he would ask that question, and then you just sit there like in silence for a second. You're like, yeah, I don't know.
well, yeah, sometimes like his questions sounded so rhetorical, and I'd wait a moment, and he'd be like, "No, give me an answer." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Um, but yeah, so that experience last night made me think a lot about today, and the topic of today is DDK improvement. Yeah,
Woo, breaking DDK.
yeah. How do we go from complete beginner and traverse our way through those DDK ranks and start approaching that first major milestone of SDK?
I mean, just stop playing bad moves, play good moves. All right, that's the episode. See you next week. um, yeah. So like, again, I was, I was DDK for a couple months, but it was also not too long ago. Um, for me, there's two sides of it in terms of trying to break through DDK. One is the technical side of things, and the other one is the mental side of things. So kind of like how you think about like improving and learning, and also like your perception of how things are. I think
Mhm.
are you. I hate to like say this, but it's like you think you know, but you don't. like, and like you as you play Go, like no matter what the rank is, that statement it kind of remains true. It's like you think you know, but you don't.
Absolutely.
But I think that's like even more true for DDKs because you know, and this is not like a jab at anyone that's at that rank, but like if you were in like DDKs, you lack some fundamental understanding of something, and it could be one major thing, it could be multiple things, but there are some fundamentals that you're not grasping or implementing completely into your game. Um, but yeah, what about you? What are the
So
main things for
I'm
you?
I'm actually just gonna come out and say it. I'm probably gonna lose some people, but I'm gonna get you back in a different episode. I promise. I'm very much gonna be the bad cop in this episode. I've already decided. I thought about it a lot.
Okay.
To be frank, it really doesn't take much effort. It really doesn't. It doesn't take much to get through those DDK ranks. Um, I would say if you are the complete beginner, my best advice, besides just getting up to the big board as soon as possible, you should absolutely read the Learn to Play series by Janice Kim. It is a 5-volume series. You can skip volume 3. There's really not much that's going to add to your repertoire in volume 3. But those books are phenomenal to take you from, okay, you just know that there's black and white dots on a board all the way up, probably, I don't know, maybe like 15, 12K. It could probably take you that far. In fact, if you're going to take that seriously, what I would actually recommend is read Volume 1. It's going to go over all the bare minimum. And then go play like 25 games, something like that. Come back and read Volume 2. Okay, now we're going to step it up a little bit. When you're done with that, go play another 25, maybe even 50 games. Come back, skip over Volume 3, go to Volume 4, and this is going to be a big step up for you as a complete beginner. Getting to Volume 4 is going to feel like a huge leap. You might not even want to move on to Volume 5. You might want to reread Volume 4. But again, once you're done, go play like 50 more games. And by the time you come back to Volume 5, which again is going to be another step up, you've already got like 100 games under your belt. You've already got some experience. This material's going to start making sense. But let's say you're not a complete beginner. Let's say you've been like hard stuck at like 15Q, 12Q, something like that. What I would actually recommend is this bad boy right here. I go to this all the time. You know where I'm going.
Oh, no, that's
Opening
not the one I was thinking of.
No. Opening Theory made easy, baby. This is all you need to get the SDK. Promise you.
Your camera's reversed, so it doesn't.
Oh no!
It doesn't read right. But yeah.
Oh well. Opening Theory made easy. Now you might be thinking, I don't care about the opening. The middle game is where all the action is. That's where all the fun is. This book is not just about the opening. There are principles in this book that are going to extend to every aspect of the game. I promise you.
Yeah.
And then you might be thinking, I don't want to read a book, Octo. That sounds like work. I don't want to do that. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Go play games and get them reviewed. And you don't need a Don reviewing your games. Find someone 3 to 5 ranks above you, have them review your games, and you'll still move forward. But bottom line, I truly don't think it takes that much effort, because you don't need to concern yourself with a bunch of like whole board perspective stuff. You just need to fix a bunch of little things, and you're just going to take off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so quick thing. All the books that we mentioned during this episode, I'm going to have links to in the description, so that way people can, find those books if they want to.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I guess before we start getting into like the more technical side of things, I think, and I know I touched on it, but I think it's very important that we touch on like the mental side of things and just like goals, because if your goal is to truly break through to SDK, and like you said, it doesn't take a ton of work. I'm in agreement with you there. But some people can't study like as much, or they can't play as much. And that's fine. But then you also have to be realistic and say to yourself, look, this is a hobby, and I would like to get to SDK someday, but it does take time and effort. And I know myself like very well in terms of how I learn. Okay. I can pick things up very fast when I'm learning a brand new subject. Once I get more knowledge, I start to plateau a bit, and that's kind of where I'm feeling I'm at. And I know that about myself. If you're someone who may struggle with like picking up certain ideas, or you've been trying for a while, just be patient and know like, okay, I'm going to have some difficulties with this topic. I need to implement strategies to help myself learn it, because, and this kind of gets into like my first like big mental thing is like, do not boil the ocean, meaning do not try and implement a ton of ideas at once in your game because your brain is going to overload and you're just going to fumble all over the place and then you're going to like be upset with yourself. Just when you go into a game, just focus on one or two things. That's what I did. So like in the DDK ranks, once I started like learning more about the game, I was like, okay, I'm going to make bases for my groups. And then that's what I would do. And then if people were like trying to attack me or attaching, my next goal was like, okay, don't die. Like literally, if I ended up losing the game or I would be losing ranks, it did not matter. Does not matter at all because you're trying to grasp a specific topic. And so you kind of, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but yes, focus on just a few things each game. And once you feel more comfortable, then you can start to introduce some more things. But again, you don't want to overwhelm yourself because it doesn't help. And then kind of what I was starting to get into is like, it is, and maybe this is just my experience. I think Octo, you've expressed you've had this too, and even Max and some other people. But it is not uncommon to have this like ebb and flow of like ranks where you will rise up because you're starting to understand some things, you start learning new ideas, and then you start to dip down because you're fumbling trying to implement new ideas. And then once you start to grasp it, you'll start to rise again. And, maybe it's not as drastic as like, oh, you were a 10Q and then you dropped to 11 and now you're a 9Q. Like, maybe it's not as drastic as that. It could be much, much smaller, but like you should be able to tell within yourself or as you review your games, you're like, oh, I'm not feeling as anxious about these types of positions. And that was like the main thing for me. It was like, am I anxious about certain types of positions? And if so, that means I lack knowledge or I'm not comfortable because I haven't played it out enough. So really just kind of essentially listening to your body and just being like, how do I feel about these types of positions? Am I uncomfortable? Do I need to learn something new? Okay, it's going to feel like you're regressing, but you're not. You're just trying to implement new ideas. I mean, case in point,
right.
I know it's at 6Q right now, but like just yesterday, I fell back down to 7Q because I'm trying to implement new attacking ideas because I'm reading a new book about attacking and I'm fumbling hardcore. I mean, I'm looking at my games and I'm like, what am I doing? This does not look like me at all. But I have to just reset my mind and be like, look, this is part of the process. You are learning and just kind of take note of what's happening. And that's what I'm doing. And yeah, I will adjust at some point and I'll be fine. Just don't freak out.
Yeah, what you're describing is a learning curve. So you start at your baseline, whatever that rank is. You're trying to learn something new, and as you are implementing it in your game, you're screwing it up because it's so brand new. You don't really understand it yet, but you want to try it, and this is causing you to lose. It's not causing you to get worse, and that's a big difference that people, especially DDKs, don't understand because they see their rank going down. And it's just this source of frustration. When in reality, you're probably getting better. You're just losing, right? That the rank value, that number is going down, but in actuality, you're probably getting stronger. In fact, I know you're getting stronger because you're trying something new, right? And just like anything else in life, it's going to take practice. You're going to have to execute this a few times, but then you're going to start getting some proficiency and then some mastery, and you're going to see that rank shoot up because you're doing it correctly all of a sudden. So it's never this instance that you're getting worse just because your rank is going down. Mm-hmm. It's actually a decent indicator that you're probably about to shoot up.
Yeah.
In some capacity. In fact, I've been saying for quite a while now, I thought I got to SDK in roughly 6 months. I actually just looked it up Right, but that's what I was looking up right before we started. I got on KGS's archives and I was looking at it. I got to 10Q in 6 months. And then at the time I was starting grad school, so I ended up taking 6 months off. And so it was roughly a little over a year before I actually broke through. But the funny part was I was kind of stuck at 10Q for months. And then the book that I was talking about, Opening Theory Made Easy, when I started reading that and getting to it, or just like really starting to soak up some of those ideas from the game that I hit 9Q, it was 8 games later, I was 8Q. It took me 8 games to go from 10 to 8Q, and then 2 months after that, I shot up to 7. So it can be a very quick thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Implement like getting some of these ideas down can absolutely shoot you up really fast.
Yeah, for sure. The last thing that I want to say in terms of maybe it's not like the mental side of things, but just like I think a rule every DDK player should follow is don't concede games. Finish them out. One, because anything can happen and you can win still. So don't give up. Case in point, my game at 6Q the other day where I'm like completely lost because a whole big dragon died and then my opponent made a oopsie and then
They self-atari'd, right?
they not self-atari'd. I had atari'd and they didn't realize it, and so I killed off like a 11 stone group that was like killing my dragon. So, anyways, you can win any games, but that's not the point. Is it's not about winning or losing. It's you have to practice your opening, your middle game, and your end game. You have to. So you might as well get that practice in now rather than do it at a later date. And it's nice because like you could like be losing the game by 40 points like come like the middle game, and then let's just say you play like decent end game, like better than your opponent. You might see, oh, the graph says now I'm only losing by 30 points. Like I take that as a win. That says you played a better end game than your opponent. And I think that's something that DDK, well, I guess any player aside from DDKs, like you should be proud of those small things. Just look at the different aspects of your game and say like, oh, you know what? I struggled in the opening, or I struggled in the middle game or end game. Or hey, it was even up until this point, and then I like broke through my end game play or whatever it may be. But don't concede. There's a lot to learn throughout the whole game.
It's also an exercise in resiliency, which is a whole other skill. Just pushing yourself to keep trying in a game. And as a DDK, it's going to feel like as soon as a group dies, you're going to be like, oh, that's it. Game over. There's no coming back. And I think Pagog0 has seen enough now to know that like you can have a huge group die and the game is still even sometimes. There's all kinds of things. So at that DDK level, all kinds of things are possible. You never know how people are going to mess up or play well. So you might as well do yourself a favor and build up that sense of resiliency as soon as possible.
Yeah, if we have time, so two things. One, yeah, I've experienced it enough where I'm like, oh, I can lose big groups and still win. So like, I'm a believer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's true.
But if we have enough time near the end, if we kind of get through everything, I do have a game, thanks to our friend Druid in our Discord, that
oh boy,
reminded me of a game where I did lose a decent sized group and like I still won by like 54 points or something like that. So I think that's a good example of, hey, you can lose a big group and still win. So
yeah.
So technical side of things, I know you have some board stuff ready.
No, we're gonna hold off on that.
Okay, just kidding, haha, baited you guys.
So I wanted to ask you, like, thus far, do you feel like there has been anything specific that has just felt like this huge paradigm shift in the like completely how you see the entire game. Like you can't go back essentially. Like now you see the stones differently. Has that happened to you yet?
Um,
Because I think my first one was around where you're at. I feel like it was somewhere between 10 and 7Q. I distinctly remember.
what like explain it a little
So
bit
my
more.
one of the first ones I was reading Lessons in the Fundamentals, Kageyama, and chapter 2 is all about cutting and connecting. And I don't know if he mentions it in that book or if I read it somewhere else. But if you look at the end of a game, and this isn't always true, but on average, if you look at the end of a game and count which player has the fewer number of groups, that person is usually the winner. And the reason why is because they probably connected up so many of their groups they were unkillable.
God, I need to get back to doing that. But
So I think there was this moment where I kind of just stopped thinking about very traditional things. I wasn't thinking about points. This was like kind of an experiment, an exploratory exercise that I was trying out for a little while.
Mhm.
I wasn't thinking about points. I wasn't even thinking about like group distances or shapes or anything like that. I was strictly thinking about how can I connect my groups and how can I disconnect my opponent's groups. And I swear like at the time changed everything about the way I started playing Go.
Yeah, I think for me, um, and I think it's a chapter in the lessons in the fundamentals of Go, by Kageyama. Um, Spheres of influence. I
Mm-hmm.
think that was a big one, and
Yeah.
what that topic in that chapter was about is it was highlighting areas of the board where essentially your opponent is like has this very large framework, and or not even a large framework, but they have like essentially like a big box that they're making, and it's like maybe like 7 lines deep of a box, and like as a DDK, you're like, oh man, I can never like invade that. They're gonna kill my group or whatever, and they might like that. That definitely happens sometimes, and that's not saying that you can't like invade. That's just saying that maybe you're doing something wrong. But that's a whole other thing. But when I understood spheres of influence, it relaxed me a bit because then I was like, oh, yes, they're building something, but it's not all going to be points. It can be either reduced slightly or completely invaded. And so um that like it was more just like a mental thing that calmed me down where I'm like, okay, I'm not losing as much as I think I am. It's probably a much more even game, but I do need to do something before it gets out of hand. I think that was probably the big thing for me when I was like, yeah, around DDK level, maybe even a little bit of like high SDK. The next big thing was just like, um, I mean, we say it over and over again, and I know. Okay, I'm just gonna get it out there. I understand. I said this in the first episode, and then there was a review on your your Twitch stream, or I went against what I said, which was don't play near thickness. And you know what?
Right.
I mess up sometimes. It's okay. We all do it. But like hearing you and Max talk so much about like this is how you use thickness. Do not play near thickness. Like that really changed the way that I was looking at the board and how I should treat my thickness. Um yeah, I don't know if I can like speak more to it, like put good words to what I'm feeling, but like it's I know it makes me play differently now that
Hmm.
I know like these kind of general rules about thickness.
Okay. I think that sounds like it could be a small paradigm shift. I feel like I've had small and large ones.
Hmm.
I've had multiple ones for sure. I can name them. I can almost tell you exactly when and like what rank they occurred. So I think that's legitimate.
Yeah.
Yeah. One other thing I want to say, and I don't think I mentioned this in the first episode, but I do say it on my stream quite a bit. And I think it's good for DDKs to hear, or for all Go players to think about this as soon as possible. The game of Go is a board game, but the experience of Go is an RPG. It really is a role-playing game. It's choose your own adventure. You get to pick what kind of player you want to be, and you get to select, and distribute like your experience points in what you want to study. You don't have to study Joseki. You don't have to study Sumigo. You can be the person that's putting it all into Suji. I knew somebody like that, and I was at least 3 stones higher than him, but we would still play an even game because he would whip out so many Tsujis in the middle of a game, he'd keep it even. Like, I would be outplaying him, and then eventually he would just, sharp move, sharp move, sharp move.
Dude, I would be so frustrated if that happened to me. I'd be like, theoretically, I know more about this game, but
Right.
you find these stupid sharp moves that all of a sudden makes the game even.
Yeah. It was eye-opening for sure. But yeah, like, go with that, and there's nothing to say that you're locked in. You can respec yourself, right? And it's not like you're losing knowledge when you decide to like change it up, and you should. When you get into some, you know, streak of just boringness, or you feel like you've stalled out, you have got to change it up. You got to change something. Change, you know, your opening stones. You like to play double 4/4s? Start playing a 3/4. Throw in a 3/3 every now and then. Try a 5/4. Just
No.
mix it up. If you're very territorial, become a Moyo player and be brave. Be brave and try something new. Um, and again, like we were talking about earlier with learning curves, you're probably going to lose. That doesn't mean you're getting weaker simply because you're trying something new, right?
Hmm.
It's going to take some time, but it's going to round you out as a player, and the game is going to get more fun. And that's so important to maintain that attitude that we're playing a game, it's supposed to be fun. If I'm not having fun, how can we change it so that we are having fun?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with you know, change it up. Um, you know, think of your I literally have it written down right here of think of yourself as a stat tree where it's like where do I want to allocate my
Right.
points and stuff. Like
Exactly.
right now I'm like I want to start allocating points into attacking. Um, because I felt that in the games I was losing, I was kind of being I was being too slack with putting pressure on my opponents, and so they're able to
Mhm.
kind of wiggle their way back. So I'm like, okay, I need to not be as slack. Let's focus on that. But I mean, like as a DDK, it can be hard. It's like, well, what should I focus on? Um, and for me, I would say like learn a few Josekis, like very simple ones. I'm not saying anything difficult,
Right.
and like just learn a 3/3 invasion, learn a 4/4 approach, learn a 3/4 approach, and how to deal with those approaches yourself, and just stick to that. Like it's for most of my games, that's what I did because I was like, there's other aspects of the game I want to focus on and learn about and expose myself to. So I'm gonna get through the opening, feel comfortable, and then now I'm gonna start seeing new things. Because if you just play as a DDK, if you play a Joseki in every corner, you're off to a good start. Like the game is even for you, um, or you're maybe slightly ahead because your opponent played some suboptimal moves, but likely it's still fairly even. Now, if you're like a Dawn level player, it might not be as optimal because you're picking bad Josekis for like a whole board situation, but like you're not a Don. So it doesn't
Yeah,
matter. You just need groups that are not weak, and then you can just move on to doing other things.
right. Yeah, so much as possible at the DDK ranks. Like at that level, it doesn't matter. Those are higher level things that will matter later.
Mm-hmm.
Don't concern yourself with it. Just get on the big board, crank out games. If you want to study something, go for it. If you don't, that's fine too. If you're not going to go down that path and you really feel like you're stuck or need help, you got to get game reviews. That is the most efficient way to improve.
Oh, okay. One other big thing I want to cover if you're trying to break through DDK, but I think it also applies for like any other rank, is if someone stronger than you is telling you something, you should listen to them. Like, just listen to them. Don't resist. Don't fight. It's okay to have questions. That's fine. It's okay to listen to them and then have what they said not work out in your game. So let's say an example. If you play a stone on some part of the board and then you make a 2-space extension to make a base, we know that's safe. It is near unkillable. But if you die, let's talk about it. What happened? Let's look at what's going on, because there's maybe other issues not related to the 2-space space that is the problem here, right? And so like that's like the other thing is like listen to those who are better than you, and start to like find your own truth about the game, because like I could have you or Max tell me something, and this has happened over and over again. You can say, "Don't play next to thickness," and it's like I'll hear it for the first time, and I'm a good little student, and I'm like, I won't play next to thickness, and then like I will never do it. And then as I review my games with you guys, you're like, actually in this case you need to play in this area, and I'll be like, but that's near thickness, and I'm like, well, here's a special occasion where you need to play next to it, right? And so then you start to learn the nuances, because you can't live by these strict rules of a 2-space space will never die, empty triangle is always bad, Sente is always good. No, like there are tiny exceptions here and there, and you need to be flexible to break some of those rules and understand why you're breaking them. Because if you strictly stick to whatever proverb or whatever rule, you're gonna get stuck at some point, because you're not breaking away from whatever is being said. You're not thinking about what is happening. Those proverbs and these rules are guidelines to the game, but they're by no means how you should play 100% of the time.
Right. I am a big proponent of proverbs because, in general, they're correct
Mm-hmm.
80 to 90% of the time. There will always be a counterexample.
Unless
These
your
aren't-
name is Herv.
Oh man, calling him out. Um, but I genuinely believe that studying proverbs is such a fantastic way to build your intuition. If you can just recite proverb in your mind in the middle of a game and say, "Oh, this should be my starting point," you have just saved yourself so much time and energy, just mental cycles of not having to search and search and search. Where should I even start? Right? Okay, we have a decent confidence that this first move is the correct move. Now let's start reading from here, right? Um, Proverb is such a great way to build that and to give you that. So I'm always loving when I can quote proverb and when I'm teaching and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Just for the audience to know, we're joking about Herv. It's a joke because anytime Herv shows a game on Octo's stream,
I don't
like
know
for
how he does it.
review, there are moments in this game, there's always one, at least one, where Herv follows some proverb and Octo's like, You should actually not follow it right here. And Herb's like, what the hell am I supposed to do?
I don't know how he constantly finds exceptions. But it's fun. I mean, and it's good too because we need to have a good sense of, when is Proverb failing us?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't happen that often. Yeah. Do you want to move on?
Yeah, let's move to the board. I'm
Okay.
antsy to
So
look at this board.
so we got a little bit of a surprise for Pagogo, because after the first episode, let's just say there was some interesting feedback, almost like 100% positive. It was really great. We really appreciate it. But some people had really, we'll say, like mixed ideas about you in particular and getting to 6Q in 9 months. And since we're talking about DDK development in this episode, I thought what I might do is create some problems for Pagogo, and let's see if he can answer them. All right, so we're gonna put him on the spot. This is gonna be great.
I'm like scared I'm gonna be making a fool of myself.
Now, this is roughly like DDK. Maybe we'll dip into a little bit of SDK, but here's the idea. I'm gonna guide him through a board position, and I may or may not give him a hint of what we should be thinking about. But pretty much all of these problems are more or less themed. There's some big idea that would be really helpful to a DDK to begin thinking about, as far as like, how do I improve myself?
So to preface this, I'm not. I mean, we wouldn't. It's not necessarily going to be like a blue move, right? It's just a good move that we're looking for.
I'm hoping we're going to get close to a blue move.
Okay.
I don't think these problems are going to be that difficult, and I actually have a tremendous amount of confidence. I think there's 7. I think you will get 5 out of 7 flawlessly, at least. That's how confident I am in your skills.
You're setting me up
And
for
like
failure.
I said, these problems. We'll see. We'll see. These problems really aren't that difficult, but are you ready? He's never seen them before. He has no idea what these are.
Yep.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Okay. So they're a little bit out of order, and I don't actually remember what the proper order was. So we're just gonna knock them out in the line here.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a board set up like this, and it is. I'll pass you. We're gonna be passing each other control back and forth here, or if you'd prefer, you can just name off the move, and we can talk about it. But basically what I want you to more or less come up with a move that you think should be the next move, and then justify it. So we'll be hearing from the SDK's perspective and justification, and then if I feel like I need to add anything as a stronger player, I will.
I feel like this is one I'm probably gonna get wrong in terms of.
This is probably the easiest problem in this set.
Oh God, I'm panicking already. I think it's throwing me off because it's cross Fuseki, which I never do.
Yeah, don't worry so much about how we got here. Just look at the board and try and figure out what's important. Because it's Black's turn. Where does Black want to play on this board?
Black wants to likely approach the 4/4 stone. So the question is, from which direction? I'm going to say probably just approach at C14.
Okay. I think I have to, like, by default, accept an answer like this. This is not the answer I'm looking for.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Because I think this
But
is
I
a
would
fine
say-
move, right? Like, there's nothing inherently wrong.
There's nothing wrong with this move. In fact, in this modern day of play, AI has overwhelmingly compelled us to think about corners so much more. And I mean, it's more or less always been like that, corner, side, center. But there's been so many times when we don't always do that. Think about any sort of framework Fuseki, low Chinese, high Chinese, mini Chinese, Sanrensei, Kobayashi, any of these Fusekis aren't completely following that guideline.
Oh
Ah,
my
he's got
god.
it now.
I just
He finally started paying attention to the stones. Okay, so what is it? What is it?
Is it one higher?
Ah, that's fine. No, this is good. This is
Okay.
good. All right, so why this move?
Dude, I like it clicked in my. I can't remember what book it's from. I want to say it's Opening Theory Made Easy, but it's when there's these two stones like facing this direction. Uh, you want it's like both players want to fight for the extension to the side, so that's why it would be one of these two. And for black, it's probably better to do Q10 because this it's not as flat in comparison to R16.
This is perfect. This is a perfect move. And as you're saying, both players have Shamaris facing the same side of the board. So it's a race. It's a race to see who's going to get there first.
Mm-hmm.
So if we approach that white corner, white might respond, white might not respond. White might respond, and then maybe we respond, maybe we don't respond. But either way, it's a huge race for both players to get an extension here in front of their Shamari. And the first one to get there is going to have an advantage, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
Yay.
All right.
Whenever you quiz me, this is outside of what's happening right now, but like in our reviews, I'm usually I can think of like 2 to 3 moves that are possible, and usually one of them are right. So that's my little win, and that's my excuse.
Sure, whatever you say, Pagog0. Whatever you say.
All right, next problem.
Next problem. Okay, so we've got this kind of opening. Right, we had a pincer. Then a type of counter pincer, more or less. A jump, and then white push. So it is now black's move.
Mm. I think you just jump out once more.
No.
Okay, then
no.
if it's not
no.
if it's not jumping, it's extension.
It's absolutely the extension. You
And
have to stay ahead.
Here's the reason why. One, yeah, stay ahead. But two, the proverb of Hane at the head of 2 and 3. I wouldn't want my opponent to do that, so I extend once more.
Perfect. That's actually the other thing. So let's run it back for a second. If we play something else, let's keep it a little simple. Let's just say like a Kosumi. Yes, this Hane at the head of 2. Even worse is we can actually double Hane. This is going to end up being terrible for black. So we have to stay ahead in a pushing battle. It's so important to stay ahead in a pushing battle. Allowing your opponent to turn the corner on your group is devastating, for sure. Okay.
Dude, I'm going to get roasted this next week. People are like, how the hell is this guy 6Q?
Yeah, I mean, those 2 Blackstones, they're not that important. And that's a hard lesson. That's a hard lesson for DDKs, even for SDKs, to just let 2 stones be 2 stones. Stop adding more stones and creating some crazy weak group. Look at these 4th line Blackstones on the right side of the board. You're getting so much territory. Just stay ahead. Stay ahead in a pushing battle.
Dude, I'm just like thinking about like Raven last night, where he's just like, I don't care about these 2 stones. Let them be. If they want to attack them, go ahead. I'm gonna go do something else. God damn it, dude. You're so right. You're so right.
Yep, it's so important. So important. Okay. Okay, so that was, let's see, 3, 4, 5. I think I'm missing one somewhere. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, so we're here. We need to go into this one. Okay, so next problem. Okay, we got something like this. Ooh, maybe a
Oh,
complex Joseki for some players.
do you have control? Are you moving through stuff?
Oops, see.
Yeah, take that.
Nope.
Take that shit back.
Let's take it back. Let me run it back. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So, pincer. This pincer Joseki.
Yeah.
Um, we're often very afraid of these. We frankly need to learn them at some point. Although this one is a little bit outdated. You don't quite see it these days. And here we go. Now it's finally White's turn.
Hmm.
Yeah, take a moment. There's a lot more happening on this board. I will give you a hint as far as the area of interest if you feel like you need it.
I mean, hmm. My eyes are immediately drawn to R6 here. Reason being is that if I play R6, I'm like trying to kind of like build like this a little bit. I mean, I know this isn't gonna be territory, but like the idea is there with potentially getting a stone here. But on top
Sorry.
of that, I don't think I want black to like extend an approach here.
Okay. Um, R6 is a pretty good move. I mean, it's a pretty standard looking move. Let me give you the hint. Let's say the area of interest is in the top left quadrant.
If it's
So
in the top
White,
left,
top left. If White were to play a move in the top left, where would we want to play?
uh, okay. Don't play near thickness.
There you go. Okay, that's the theme.
There's the one.
And saying it all episode.
Don't play near thickness. I mean, you probably want to make some sort of like slight extension, maybe like D14 as white. Oh god, the stones are
You
not
nailed it.
the right color.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you're reducing how much these black stones can expand in this direction, and on top of that, what you're doing is you're then doing the Bermuda Triangle, and you're gonna threaten to make points.
So let's say we didn't know better and we did get closer. Let's just say something like either C11, C12, something
You
like
gotta
that.
take control back, brother.
Well, I was going to let you do it, but I
Oh,
suppose I will.
okay.
So we'll say something like this. What's the problem here?
The problem is an invasion from
Right.
black.
There's actually enough room for black to invade here because
Yeah.
we have to imagine these two singular white stones up here on the top do not compare to the power that's emanating from these strong connected stones. This is thickness.
And
So we have to be careful.
yeah, and just to add to this, if you give me control back, please. If you're white, you like what's happening is that these black stones, one, there's so much space that like it's hard to tell what's going to happen, but it to think like I'm going to kill these should not think that at all. That's another thing too. If you are a DDK or anyone else, realistically, you should, or like not anyone else, DDK, SDK. If your thoughts are like I should kill these stones, don't do that. It should never be I'm going to kill. But I think it's a bigger topic for another episode.
I absolutely agree. In fact, I've been thinking about that one a lot recently too.
Okay.
We should do something special for that.
Yeah. But like let's say like white just like I'm gonna keep jumping because I'm gonna like pressure black. Well, actually what's happening is now black can just like let's say white jumps one more. It doesn't make sense, but let's just say they do. Now black can like jump in here, and let's say white's like, oh no, I'm scared, I'm gonna go over here, and then black goes here, and then it's like, well, what's happening in this corner? So like Black's gaining strength against these two stones, which there's like a huge gap. Um, Now let's say you're like, well, I don't want to like jump anymore. I'm gonna make a base, like, you know, 2 space base, or let's say a 1 space base. I think more likely DDKs would think about a 2 space base, right? Here's the issue. You are next, and I'm gonna make it red to highlight how important it is.
Yes.
You are next to thickness. And not only are you next to thickness, but like this group's alive. It's not dead. But there's no way you can kill this group. It is alive. So like with this being the case, you're actually just asking black to like attack you even more. And let's say they don't even attack you. This base doesn't really do much because there's a weak point right here.
There's multiple weak points.
Yeah, I should say there's multiple weak points, but as an example of like a weak point here, black's gonna now try and connect up underneath. So let's say white blocks. Black goes over here, and now you're gonna connect up to your C14 stone. Well, then you say, oh, I don't want that to happen. Well, then they just come this way, and that's connected. So now, where is your eye space as white? There's no eyes there right at the moment. So now you have to scramble to figure out, well, where are my eyes gonna come? I don't know. Hard to say. But like,
And actually, what you just described, how easy it is to erase the eye space, that's why we should have jumped to begin with. Because when they erase your eye space, what are you going to do? You're just going to start running. We should have started running. We never should have played around with any of this stuff. And now we see why that thickness is too strong. We should stay away from it.
Yep. So
Go
and
ahead.
then again, even like a 1 space base, this is, I mean, you're undercut by this B7 stone. So like it's really, really difficult to even make eye space here. So that's one thing I wanted to highlight from like I guess more of like a DDK perspective, because that's something I would think about. It's like kind of like following those proverbs of like, oh well, make a 2 space base and I'm fine. It's like, well, this is one of those situations where you're not fine. It's very different. So
And you
yeah.
know what? Let's run it back for a second to what I'm claiming to be the correct move, because it looks like, well, wait a minute, we just jumped, you know, over 2 lines. What if black extends all the way over here? Isn't black just getting more? Like, why can't we play farther? Well, we basically already answered that question. Like, it's just too dangerous. But in actuality, white can begin building this top side pretty easily
Mm-hmm.
here. So it's not terrible for white.
Can you give me control real quick? Because I wanted to highlight this for those who can't see it. So like black, and this is hyperbolic because again, this can still be reduced. But let's just say this is 12 points here for black. Like this is the territory we're making for them, right? Oh god, I have to like.
Yeah.
That's annoying. Let's say this is white now. Again, this is still a bit hyperbolic because it can be reduced, but like your moves are threatening more. You're saying your moves black, that's earning you 12 points. I'm earning 33.
Mhm.
So like again, just that alone, it's like, oh, within 2 moves by both players, the game is shifting dramatically. So I just wanted people to know. I wanted my little DDK brethren to understand.
You can just leave it because we're gonna move on to the next one.
Okay, cool. Take
Let
control
me
back.
let me grab
Yeah.
control here. Okay, so we were in this one. Okay, here is the next one.
Also, this may be a little bit of a longer episode, people, because we're already on an hour octo.
Well, that's okay. We don't have to do druids. Ah, okay. So this was a double approach Joseki.
Mm-hmm.
So it's black's turn. What are we thinking here?
Uh, P16.
He's 16.
I'm joking. That's an empty triangle. um, I'm just gonna have like a little stream of consciousness when I go through the rest of these problems, because otherwise,
Okay.
I feel like
Yeah, go for it.
I have to defend myself through my stream of thought. So that white stone at R14 is weak. Obviously, it's threatening to connect back up under at S16, which I may or may not care about at the moment. But I guess if I play another stone like in the area, maybe there's an argument that my stones are a bit over concentrated, so maybe that's bad. I don't know if I don't think Hane at S17 makes a ton of sense. I mean, maybe there's Q13 where I'm looking to press it down, press that stone down and take the outside. Maybe it's just actually N16 and I like N16 a lot because I think this presses down the white and it allows me to get the outside, and now it puts that R14 stone further behind enemy lines, potentially.
That's your final answer?
No. I'm also looking at piece again, I'm just considering moves and speaking out loud about what
it's
I'm
all good.
seeing.
It's all good.
But P17, if you were to play P17 or not, yeah, P17, white's going to block. I'm going to connect. This kind of sucks because I make an empty triangle. It's inefficient with my stones. It does make some cutting points for white, which may or may not be annoying for them later on. But I don't know, black just kind of looks a little over concentrated again. So I guess maybe the least slack move is actually just playing Q14, and I feel like I've seen a move like this before, where I'm making a tiger's mouth, kind of helping protect against a potential cut at Q15, and I'm not necessarily wrapping up the R14 stone because again it can still connect back up at S16, but it's easier for me to take this outside influence. So I guess if gun to my head, what do I pick? I'm gonna go with Q14.
Okay. You almost had it. Q14, Q13. This is the trap. This is not what we want to play. This is how we would think about the game, because we're worried about this one stone. Oh my god, this one stone's going to run away. We want it to. That one stone would be such a burden on white to pull out a single stone. Why? It's perfectly placed for Aji. Why would white ever run that stone out? So this idea isn't good, because what we're going to get into is something along these lines where white is just going to get move after move after move. Uh-oh, we have another problem here. How are we going to fix this? We're going to play here. Look how terribly overconcentrated black became by trying to hold on. So I said you almost had it, and your move is probably playable. This is a better move. Moving out. And in reality, we're putting that stone way behind. So if they do want to run out, oh my gosh, what a target of attack that thing is about to become. Also,
N17 or M17 is the idea, right?
That's a fantastic follow-up. M17 right here. We're essentially turning the corner on this white group and completely encasing it in the corner. That's bad. Just like we were saying before, we want to stay ahead in a lot of these sort of pushing battles. This is black pushing out. So white might want to consider playing up on the top. They don't have to, but if we get trapped in a corner, those stones will be useless the rest of the game. They're done. They have no growth potential. They will never be utilized in any way for the rest of the game. That's why it's so terrible to get trapped. Plus, let's say white never decides to pull this Aji stone, and we're just kind of waiting on it, right? We're baiting them. Run it out.
Mhm.
Create that terrible weak group. Give me this terrible target of attack, right? If they never do it, we could play this move. This move is fantastic. This move is building boxes and boxes, right? So it was a bit of a direction problem, but like you said, it was actually an over concentration problem.
Mhm. Yeah. I'm just being reminded that I probably need to reread Lessons in the Fundamentals. But that makes total sense. Like as I look at this move now, I'm like, yeah, this is what I would want. Because like let's say like
Here, I'll give it to you.
yeah, I'm just gonna ignore white for a moment. Oh god, let's say white just does something else. If this turn ever comes in again, like you're sealing in white, but you're also eyeing this like really why can't the X appear? You're eyeing this point, which is super annoying for white to deal with. They have to play another move locally here, because otherwise, I think this whole corner dies. Maybe no, actually, maybe it doesn't all die, but like it's very painful for white to live.
It won't die. White will just barely have any points in there.
Yeah, so like again, let's say there's a Tanuki. This is why this is so annoying for white. Is let's say white blocks here, black extends here, white says no, you can't get out, and now there's 2 liberties for this white group, there's 3 for this black group, there's 3 for this black group, there's 3 for this black stone. So this white group is going to die no matter what.
The 2 stones.
The 2 stones. Yeah, sorry. The 2 stones. So so white cannot block. These stones will connect back up. So now if white blocks this way at 018, black just extends, and
now the corner's dead.
Now the corner's dead. Yep. And these 018 stones are, who knows what's happening there. I mean, they might like push through like this, but this is still problematic.
Yeah. And this actually, this sort of placement to Suji that you've marked out actually crops up in multiple Josekis, but it's a very positional thing that happens all the time. And we don't necessarily just want to immediately play into it. It will become big later in the game, but we're setting up the board so that we have really good potential later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely true. Okay. Next problem.
All right. We have 3 left.
Dude, this is like, I know this is a DDK improvement episode, but I'm sitting here like, I'm learning shit. Or I'm brushing some rust off, I should say.
Ooh, counter approach. Counter approach. Black decides to split. So now it's white's move. What should white do here?
Side note, I feel like you have picked positions / Josekis that I just don't see a bunch.
Doesn't matter. Forget that. I don't expect you to know Joseki or anything like that. That's, again, every single one of the themes has been nothing to do with Joseki.
So just L4, make a base with the 2 white stones.
Okay. Okay.
Or maybe
for a DDK, I think that's totally playable for a DDK. There is a better move, and there's some really bad moves here. That's what we have to watch out for. The really bad moves. Just to highlight real quick, if we did play L4, black is probably going to cover this stone and get a really massive corner. And the Aji of the stone is almost gone, Not quite, but almost. So let me back it up and pass
It,
you control.
well, now that I saw that move, is it Q7?
Maybe. This is kind of like a middle of the road type move,
Okay.
but we're
Oh,
dancing around really bad moves.
oh God, I know. No, no. Is it Arth? It's just
Yes. 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 Just take the corner.
yeah.
Just take the
And
corner.
I realize now you can play this. That's what threw me off because I was like, well, you can't connect that to the O3, but because it's higher, but it doesn't matter. It works because block this way, you connect up.
Block this way. Connect. Now block
Block
the other
this
way.
way.
Connect
Oops.
up.
Yep. And this is the exact same thing that I just showed in that previous problem of if you try and block, you're going to connect back up. Oh, I guess okay. This might be a fun thing to look at because like,
Well, black's not actually going to play that move, but okay.
but let's just say right.
Yeah, go for it.
So it's like, as white, you're like, or not. Yeah, as white, you're like, oh no, there's an Atari. And I'm saying this for the DDK viewers because it's easy for us to say, oh yeah, no, we're fine. But until you see it, you don't know why at that level. So that's why I'm going through it. So you think, oh no, like they can put this into Atari, and then it's like, oh, this is now an Atari, and then they put that into Atari, and they connect there, and now your white stones are fine, and you just come back and now this is dead. Or if we change that sequence up a little bit, oh, you extend out. Oh, look at that. Those two stones are dead again.
Yeah.
So I know it looks like, oh, they can Atari and put me in a ladder, but it doesn't work because of this N3 stone here, basically putting the N4 stone into Atari. So it's connected for the sake of this position. It is connected. Yeah, that's a good one. I need to like drill these types of moves into my head because
we actually haven't even gotten to the theme of this problem because we never saw the bad moves. Now I'm gonna say some terminology here, and I'm gonna tip my hand to you, and I don't want you to say anything. You're gonna see my grand plan for this whole thing. You're gonna get it like instantly. Okay, so what about
again? I'm gonna feel so stupid if.
No, dude. No, dude. I'm gonna say it in such a way that you're instantly gonna realize what I've been doing this whole time. As a DDK, we might be tempted to try and sort of like press right here somehow, and kind of force.
I got it already.
I haven't even said it. I haven't even said it. And you already got it. Don't say anything. Don't say anything.
Yeah.
And we're accidentally hurting ourselves, right? Or kind of what we saw, or like let's if we try to press up this way, oh no, now we're hurting this stone, right? This is actually called a family feud. Don't say anything.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have to be very careful. Now you did pick a move like over here, and what we could do is sort of compromise like this. That is possible. This is kind of a middle of the road move, but going into the corner is absolutely better. However, Black wants to play this. That we were making a big deal about losing a stone, but actually we converted one of those stones not into a position, but as an Aji stone that is helping us get a way better position. This is way better for white than it is for black. So we have to be careful about some of these overly forceful type moves that are creating a family feud between two of our positions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we have two left. Let's go ahead and run through them because I don't want this episode to be too insanely long.
Is this
don't
theme?
Say it. Don't.
Is it persistent in the other problems? Because that'll help me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. This is
we'll
of the surprise.
Yeah, we're gonna explain at the end. So.
Yeah. Oh, Avalanche declined actually.
I mean,
white comes over
Boo
here.
Avalanche, yes, declining.
Okay, so now it is Black's turn. White invaded the right side What does black play?
Did you see the move? R14.
Yeah, sure. We could go as far as R13.
Yeah, be
Even
more
now,
severe.
explain that move.
Yeah, so there's a few things happening here. One, your knights move away from 4 point, just good in general. And what you're doing is you're removing the base from this stone here. Okay.
Wait, removing the base, can't they make a base at R8?
Good point. If they make a base at R8, it goes back to the idea of you're too close to thickness, way too close to thickness. This group is going to get attacked. And in the process of being attacked, black is going to get massive gains, whether it's outside thickness, straight out killing the group. Something is going to happen that is not good for white. So all of black's moves are just they're so efficient. They're doing so many things at once. Black's approaching here means that you remove the base. You're attempting to remove the base from white, and you're change colors. You're trying to secure the corner. You're trying to make points, and then in the instance, let's clear this out, that white does make a base here, well then, no, play away from thickness. Following my own ideas. You could just like cap, and maybe this is like the wrong idea for attacking whatever, but like you are threatening this white group now, and they need to figure out what the heck they're doing. Like let's just say they run out this way, and you again like move to try and like seal them in. Like I'm doing this so poorly because I know right now I'm kind of jeopardizing this group. But
yeah, it's okay. I have a better way to show you.
Go.
That's okay though.
Yeah, you're better at the attacking. My brain is mush on attacking right now. So.
But we had an example earlier where really the theme was don't approach thickness, right? And we had to restrain ourselves. And it looked like there was a huge distance. Why am I not taking advantage of it? It's because we're opening ourselves up to a counterattack. In this instance, we are compelling our opponent to play near thickness, right? This is a proper attacking direction. And I said we could play this one. So our thickness is over here. We're forcing them to move toward our thickness, which we've already said is a bad move. Right? So a nice follow-up here is actually something like this into this, and now we're really building that top side. But like you said, we don't actually have to kill this group. We're just attacking it. We're just harassing it, more or less to get free outside moves that are working in conjunction with our other stones, right?
My capping move kind of fits the theme of, I think, what we're getting at, but that's good for me. That's a learning moment for me.
Oh, maybe you have it wrong then. Okay, that's fine.
Shit.
All right, one more, and this one is not even a whole board problem. This one is zoomed in here. So now it's black's turn. What would be the proper move here? Basically, white needs a base. Let's say somewhere around K3, maybe L3 if that feels too far for you. But white would really like to play a base here. How should black play properly? Like what is the Honte way for black to proceed?
It's just R2, right?
Excellent. Yes. Just R2. Just descend. This descend gives you a good chunk of points in the corner, and you're undercutting this position even if they make a base. Now the trap here is to oops. I didn't take control. Yeah. R2, We take this, we're undercutting them even if they make the base. The trap here is to try and steal their base preemptively, because now white is actually going to take away really easy points that we could have had here.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we're playing second line moves, this sort of securing the position is sometimes necessary. Sometimes it's very necessary for us to play an early second line move.
Give me control back again.
Yep.
Because one thing I want to kind of touch on for those who are DDK, because some may or may not know about this move, but the reason why we say we're removing like the base or eye space down here is that later on in the game, black can play this monkey jump here. So if you've never seen it as a DDK, it's bizarre, and when it happens to you, you're gonna probably lose very hard because you are likely going to respond incorrectly and get very, very frustrated. But this move cannot be disconnected for black. This stone is going to be here. It's going to connect back up, and they're going to do it in Sente. So then that means they get to go do more stuff, and it is very annoying. But that's why we say we're not going to go into the mechanics of a monkey jump right now. There are videos of that. I recommend Go Magic. That's a great place to go. But this move can happen, and so then if that occurs, and let's say, white now, does this, right? The eye space has been reduced. There's less points here now for white. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you enjoyed this, let us know. How many did you get right? We'd love to hear about that. But now, sort of for the grand reveal, Pagog0, did you recognize any of these problems? Is there a central location where these problems maybe came from? Oh, so you didn't figure it out. You tell me what you thought you figured out first.
I thought we were talking about overplays.
No. Okay, even better. These all came from every single one of these problems came from the exact same book. Any guesses as to which book they came from?
Is it Lessons in the Fundamentals?
No! Opening Theory Made Easy. Another plug.
Dude, I can't get anything
Another
right.
plug for those DDKs. I promise you this book will take you all the way to SDK.
I gotta go read
every single one of these problems. And we see not all these problems were really even talking about the opening. Yeah, it was early enough in the game to call it the opening, but the themes, the morals of these problems involved things that could happen in so many different parts of the game. I'm telling you, it is the best book for beginners who are getting stuck as DDKs.
Or people who've been playing for a little bit and can't remember anything. I'm literally pulling it up right now on my tablet. I'm like, I gotta reread this. God dang it. I will say, if it wasn't Lessons in the Fundamentals, I would have guessed this book.
I had so much confidence. Wow.
See, you know why I knew this was gonna go so wrong for me? Is because you had so much confidence in me going into going into the match against Herv, and look what happened. I went 0-2, but that's okay.
You're right.
That's okay, because what happened after that was I became two ranks higher than him. So you just kicked my butt into gear to reread this and start to cement these ideas into my brain, because clearly they're not there right now, or they're not as solidified.
And that's okay. And maybe you were feeling that as a DDK, but hopefully we could see some slight differences. Most of the time they align pretty well as far as like your justification versus my justification, right? Mm-hmm. And for content purposes, thankfully you picked some bad moves that we could talk about. Oh, this is a natural looking move. Why is it not right? Yep. So it's a whole process.
Yeah. And this, I mean, am I slightly embarrassed I got some of these wrong? Yeah. But
So yeah,
but
but like I kind of
but this goes back to what I said initially. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, me getting these problems right or wrong doesn't matter. It's about what do I know and what do I need to work on. Like, this was good for me. I know this is like DDK improvement, but it's like I'm sitting here being like, yeah, I need to relook at this. This is actually what I'm struggling with in my games right now, and so maybe I need to go back to reading this book, and just accepting the fact that it's like I'm not perfect. Like, I'm struggling myself. There's a reason why I'm SDK. There's a reason why you're Tudon. You have stuff to work on too,
oh yeah, big
Mister.
time.
So like, don't beat yourself up too much. If you're
Mhm.
losing games, if you're not getting problems correct, just observe what your response was. Think about why you didn't get there, and see what you can do to fix it. And in this case, for me, I think a lot of the problems, again, I considered moves that were either right or in the general vicinity. So then it's like I'm close. I just need some refining to do, right? There's something wrong with my thinking. I just got to exactly figure out why, and probably just read the damn book. So,
All right. Well, that's all I've got. Let's save that druid game for another episode.
yeah. It's not a Druid game. It's a game that Druid had mentioned earlier that I had played.
Oh, right. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. Um, yeah, so I think that's going to be the episode right there. Almost an hour and 30 minutes. Yeah, we had a lot to talk
Okay.
about.
Okay.
A lot to talk about.
Uh, Now it might be a little while for episode 3, like we said, or at least like I said. I don't really want these to come out every single week. I want there to be some room in between. But let us know if there's anything that you like that we're doing. If there's something you think we should change, let us know.
Hmm.
But I think this wraps up episode 2. This has been the Dawn.
And the queue. Catch you guys
Take it easy.
next episode. Bye.